Hey guys, it's Joe of the Joe Madden Sports Podcast here. Joined this afternoon by Brian Edwards, senior handicapper at Vegas Insider. Brian, welcome to the show. How's it been since we last had you on?
Hot. It's been hot in Florida, but I'm doing well, Joe. Thanks again for having me.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I say we like I have multiple personalities, probably do in some situations on some days. Every day, I always do that. I'm not sure why, but
I do it as well.
I'm excited to have you back on. We're going to be talking some college football today, UFC 276, which is going to be great. Let's jump into college football. Do you have any win totals that you're already looking ahead at?
Yeah, I'm going to go with over 8.5 wins on Fresno State, which had a big season last year, 10-3 straight up, 8-5 against the spread. They get Jake Hayner back, although he had temporarily jumped in the portal when Kalen DeBoer, their head coach, left for Washington. But I don't think bettors should look at this like a complete, typical regime change. I mean, Jeff Tedford was there for 3 years, stepped down because of a medical issue. DeBoer came in for 2 seasons, but, Tedford recruited, I'm not saying he recruited most of the guys, but he recruited probably half of these guys, and he retained 3 assistants, and he's got 4 other assistants that are either former players at Fresno or were on his staff previously at Fresno. So it's not your, typical new regime, and I don't think it should be looked at as a negative, especially with Tedford being a brilliant, offensive mind. And Hayner's one of the top quarterbacks in the country, 33-9 touchdown to interception ratio last year, threw for more than 4,000 yards. He's got his top 2 receivers back, Jalen Cropper, who had 85 catches, 899 yards, 11 touchdowns last year. He's got 3 of his top 4 pass catchers back. He's got one of the best tight ends in the Mountain West, and also got a running back in Jordan Mims who's ready to take on a bigger load, although they did lose Rivers, their featured back. But Mims went for over 700 yards rushing last year, 6 touchdowns, averaged 5.6 yards per carry, also had 25 catches, 324 yards and 4 touchdowns. The defense was outstanding last year, and they bring back 7 starters. They only gave up 20.5 points per game. They've got their top 4 tacklers back, and their secondary is ranked number 26 nationally by Phil Steele's magazine. And, you look at the schedule, and I've got the schedule right here. I think that, they probably lose at USC in week 3, although I will note They did win at UCLA last year. But I think they win their first 2. I think they win at UConn. They probably lose at Boise State. But then I think they're favored the rest of the way, and I've got them going 10-2. So I like over 8.5 wins for the Fresno State Bulldogs.
Oh, Fresno State fans just cheered for that. 8-2, definitely a great season ahead for them. Who doesn't love the Bulldogs a little bit? That's for sure. Even as a Buckeyes fan, I can say that. Okay, anyone else you're looking at in college?
I'm going to also go over 8.5 on the Pittsburgh Panthers. They obviously did lose Kenny Pickett, which is a big loss, and then Jordan Addison going in the transfer portal. But still, I think they're still going to be outstanding. They went 11-3 straight up, 10-4 against the spread last year. They won by double-digit margins 9 times last year. 2 of their losses were by 7 combined points. The third loss, they had an 11-point lead in the fourth quarter. Michigan State rallies and then gets that pick 6 in the final minute, which made it a misleading final score, and they lose by 10. But they were plus 1,862 net yardage last year. They had 3 first-team All-ACC guys on the defense that are all back, and a second-team All-ACC guy in the defensive end, Baldonado, who had 9 sacks last year and 9 QB hurries. They get Keaton Slovis out of the transfer portal, who was very good for USC in 2019, but has been, struggling with some injuries the last couple of years and just hasn't been himself. But, he was healthy for the spring. And they've got 3 quality running backs that are all 3 back. They combined for more than 1,700 rushing yards and 16 touchdowns last year. As I look at the schedule, for Pitt, I see 7 wins, and then I see 5 swing games.
Okay.
The 5 swing games being Tennessee at home, at Louisville, at North Carolina, at Virginia, and at Miami. I think they'll be underdogs at Miami, It's either, I think it's FanDuel that has them a 4-point underdog at home to Tennessee in week 2, but certainly a winnable game. I would definitely think they'll win at North Carolina and Virginia. That would get us to 9. And then we still got a game at Louisville. I shouldn't say definitely. I mean, they are road games, but, they could win. I don't think they win at Miami. It is late in the year, though, so heat won't be a factor. Whereas, Miami doesn't want to go to Pitt in November, but Pitt would love to come to Miami in November and avoid the heat. So I think they go at least 9-3. So Pitt over 8.5 wins.
Okay, I love it. You guys make sure you get that locked in before we see a lot movement on these lines. We have UFC 276 in Nevada at the T-Mobile Arena this Saturday, July 2nd. What are you liking?
Yeah, so I like a 4-fight parlay to start with the champ Adesanya, who you probably get somewhere. A minus 410 at DraftKings was the smallest price that I saw like an hour ago. He is obviously undefeated in the middleweight division. His only loss was when he went up to 205. And Cannonier, his opponent, is 38 years old, although he is a badass. Then let's also go with Macy Barber, who is 12-2 overall, has won back-to-back fights. And she's fighting Jessica Ai, who's lost 3 in a row and 4 of her last 5. Also like Pedro Muniz, who is 16-1 in the last 8 years with 12 first-round finishes. I think he beats Uriah Hall. And then I'm also going to go with Sean O'Malley against Pedro Munoz, who has lost 3 in a row and 4 of his last 5. O'Malley's only career loss coming to Marlon Chito Vera when he suffered an injury late in the first round of that fight. So those are 4 heavy favorites, but if we put them together in a parlay, we get a plus 206 return. And then in terms of straight bets, I'm going to go with Sean Strickland at around even money or maybe minus 110 against Alex Pereira, the kickboxer, who just doesn't have a ton of experience in UFC. He's a big-time elite, world-class kickboxer. But Strickland's won 6 in a row. He's got more experience in the octagon. I'm going to go with him at basically, an even money or a pick 'em price. As for other picks, I'm not against maybe trying a small play on Adesanya to win inside the distance at plus 135. He's way too expensive on the straight price. That's why I've got him in a parlay. And even though Pedro Munoz has never been finished, I'm also not against O'Malley for a small play, plus 160 to win inside the distance. Those guys are all too expensive to bet the straight price, at least for me, as O'Malley's around the minus 300 price range. So Strickland, I'm not against small plays, O'Malley and Adesanya inside the distance, and then the 4-fight parlay with Adesanya, Barber, O'Malley, and Muniz, and that should get us back on a $100 play to get 206 and change back.
Brian, it's too bad we cannot bet on what color O'Malley's hair is going to be coming out for this fight. Cowboy Cerrone, he's fighting in this one as well. I'm kind of a little bit shocked. I didn't think that he would have many more fights under him after his last loss. What are your thoughts on Cowboy?
Yeah, it's maybe going to be his last one. I think if he wins, he's talking about with Dana, he wants to have a 50th fight. And if he wins, doesn't take any damage, maybe Dana would make that fight with Joe Lozon that fell apart here twice in the last 2 months. And, Jim Miller, he and Cowboy are tied with Andrei Arlovsky for most career wins in UFC history. And this is also Miller's last fight on his contract. So the winner takes sole possession of most career wins. And it may be the last we see of 2 of these guys that have been in the promotion, for a dozen or so years and have just been perennial 155-pound stalwarts. As far as betting on it, I'm not against under 1.5 at a plus 115 return. Miller's got 2 second-round knockouts in a row. We know Cowboy has, so many finishes in his career. I'm not against that play. I'm not I don't love it by any means. And I just I don't want to fade Cowboy in his last fight, but he's not a guy that you want to be backing right here late in his career, I don't think.
Yeah, absolutely. Should be an interesting fight, kind of an end to an era then, if you're saying both of these guys might be their last fight in the UFC. Yeah, that's a hard one. Hate seeing these fighters go out, but they all
Yeah.
need to retire at some point. Brian, thank you for breaking down UFC 276 for us. I know you did have some quarterback ratings. Did you want to get to that quick before we finish off here?
Yeah, so nobody surprising at the top. Bryce Young 1, CJ Stroud 2, Caleb Williams 3. I think that's pretty universal. I went with Grayson McCall, number 4, from Coastal Carolina, 54-6 career TDI and T ratio. Then I went 5, Will Rogers, Mississippi State, 6, Hendon Hooker, incredible 53-10 TDI and T ratio for his career, 20 rushing touchdowns. Then I went Devin Leary, NC State, Sam Hartman, Wake Forest, Hayner from Fresno, and Phil Dracovic from Boston College, who should be healthy this year after missing 7 games last year with that hand injury. So there's my top 10. A lot of good ACC quarterbacks for a chance. It's going to be a big year for quarterbacks in the ACC. They're loaded at QB this year.
Oh, I cannot wait. It's going to be a fantastic season of college football. Brian, thank you so much for joining me here on the Joe Madden Sports Podcast. Can you let everyone know where they can find yourself and everything that you have going on?
Yeah, thanks so much for having me again, Joe. Anytime. They can find me on Twitter at Vegas B Edwards is my Twitter handle. They can find all my picks on VegasInsider.com, although I've retired from baseball, so I don't have anything going right now since NBA ended, but when football comes, I will. And a lot of my content at majorwager.com, including my quarterback rankings, if anybody wants to check those out. And thanks again for having me, Joe. Enjoyed it as always.
Always a pleasure, Brian. Thank you so much for coming on, you guys. I will be back tomorrow with another Joe Madden Sports Podcast. Thanks for hanging out with me all day. Brian, enjoy your evening. I hope it's a wonderful Wednesday night for you.
You as well. Thank you.
Thank you.